guys, I'm Rori, and you are listening to Rori's Room, the podcast where we discuss anything and everything life throws at us. Welcome to Season 3 More Than Just a Job. I am sitting down with creatives and professionals who are chasing and shaping the work that they have always wanted to do. This season is all about sharing different perspectives from different fields and revealing just how those paths might have changed them along the way. This week, we are wrapping up our conversation with teen fiction author Samantha Shafay Webb. If you haven't listened to part 1 of Samantha's episode, I recommend you do so prior to this segment. That being said, let's enter Rori's room. One thing I can get behind is starting wherever you can. I started creating fan-based media really early in my preteen years, I'd say. Edits on YouTube and social media and stuff like that. I had fan pages on Instagram. It was huge. And I wrote on Wattpad making fan fiction for the longest time because I feel like fan fiction doesn't get the credit it deserves. People consider it to be cringy at times, but you got to consider that a lot of the people who write on that are pretty young or just starting out. Yes. And so in my experience, Wattpad was the first time I fully dove into my writing passion. And that's partially due to the instant feedback that I had from readers. So I could constantly hear suggestions on what I should do and how I was doing. And I also feel like it was super easy to publish work and really get a feel of how that was in the quote unquote real world. And I also feel I don't know about you, but I feel like it's not as appreciated as it should be,
I agree. I feel like as a writer who started out writing or trying fanfic, it was really nice to kind of have other characters or say musicians, and you kind of have you kind of create your own character in your own way, and then you have your main characters, and it's just nice to kind of not plan everything out because you're kind of just trying it.
I don't know about you, but when I was younger and I was writing all this stuff, I just had so much to say, and I never had a creative block in my life, which is very contrasting to now because I always have creative block. But when I was a teenager, I would just write and write and write. And so making fan fiction gave me the ability to kind of just put my character that I constructed into a already constructed world and just write,
Right.
So that was pretty nice. I also feel Stephanie Meyer, who wrote Twilight.
Yes, yeah.
Authors like her and you are excellent examples that this is a method that you can use to build your career. Even the movies, I don't know if you've seen it, After started out as a fan fiction.
Definitely, yes. So for me, something I can get behind is supporting individuals who wants to start something new. So whether it's getting into a new hobby or just doing something new that kind of does better for your everyday living. So for me, I love just seeing even people on social media. I love seeing someone's journey of say starting to get into the gym and kind of learning about it or meeting other people. That way you make friends. For me, I last fall went skydiving for the first time, and it was a bucket list of mine. And I thought it would be a one-time thing. Little did I know that was something, and currently I'm thinking about getting my license to solo skydive. And with that being a possible hobby, I want to do better for myself, be in better health. So I feel getting into this hobby has done positive things for me, and I love that.
You looked so happy in the photos you posted too. It almost made me want to go skydiving, and then I remembered I was afraid of heights.
The crazy part, I thought I was going to be scared of heights. So I thought okay, bucket list. I know it's on my bucket list. It'll be maybe a one-time thing. Who knows what the height's going to be like. So this was, I think, almost 14,000 feet. The plane went up. And I was the last session of the day, meaning I was able to actually watch the sun set as I jumped out of the plane. And it was the most breathtaking view.
Now I might have to try it.
Even if it's with friends, if you just grab somebody, you'll be attached to someone, so they have plenty of experience. I think it should be a one-time thing for people if they really want to try to experience it.
Would you be interested in becoming certified to go with other people?
I actually haven't thought that far, especially because I first would have to learn how to solo skydive and probably get like the experience to kind of figure out if I want to be certified to do that. It's hard to say, but it's definitely a cool experience. And I would say you can do it anywhere in the world that offers it. So then you have like the different views. So maybe.
Well, I'm proud of you. That's an excellent achievement. I feel like there's not a lot of people who have done that before. That puts you in a specific percentage, which is great. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And you enjoyed it.
I loved it. Definitely loved it.
So one thing I can't get behind kind of relates to like the other topics that we were talking about previously, and I guess I kind of touched on it before, and that's the hate behind fan-based creative media. Because like I stated in my I think fan-based media can lay the groundwork for amazing things. I started making video edits of my favorite shows, and now I'm in film school, and I started writing fan fiction on Wattpad, and now I'm in the process of rewriting my dystopian novels from my teenage years. And you were an excellent example of how this can all work out in your favor. And I think it's just all about where you take your journey. But in order to make that initial step, I think you have to kind of dismiss all of the risk factors of like cringe-worthy content, and just take that leap. Because platforms like Wattpad allow both new and experienced writers to do that, which I greatly appreciated.
I would say, I definitely greatly appreciate Wattpad, especially with the whole fanfic aspect. It gives you the encouragement to like kind of just start somewhere, and there's going to be people either nearby you or anywhere around the world who's going to find that story, and they're going to like it, and they're going to follow you through your journey. It's really nice.
That's how I met you.
Yes, exactly.
Crazy. I still think about that a lot. I feel like I don't even know when that was. Probably like 10 years ago.
I think the first time I started writing and posting on there was like close to the summer of 2014.
Girl, it's been like 12 years.
That's crazy.
I feel like every single time I sit down and film this episode, and usually in the icebreaker section, I always date myself because people will talk about like memories and stuff and how we met, and it's like then we'll realize that it's been like 6 to 10 years. That's and I'll crazy. Realize how old we are, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
like we were all just like kids in maybe middle school, high school, and now we're like in college or into our careers now. It's crazy to just think about it.
It's crazy to think how fast life goes after you get out of high school. And even like I'm still in college, but life is flying by so fast. Like I remember it being November like yesterday, and like being so excited to give people their Christmas presents, and now I'm sitting here at the middle of March doing this, and I don't even remember, like, I don't know, this podcast has also been a lot of fun. But like at the same time, I feel like life in itself is just a lot of work, especially when you're building your career. So that's probably another reason why it goes by so fast.
Keeps you busy, keeps you on your feet.
Absolutely. What was the moment you realized that you actually published a book with a publisher?
I would say when we started doing the countdown of the release date of the book. I remember I was working in the pharmacy, so I was working that evening. And I had friends and family bring me balloons and cake while I was working.
Oh
and then
God.
People were like, really curious of what was going on. And people said they would like, order it when it was out tonight. And it was just a whole like, wow, I'm working, but here I am. My book's about to come out and there's a countdown.
That's cool. That's like, I don't know if you've had that experience where like in school, you would see people whose parents would like send them balloons to like the office.
Yes.
Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'd see like a huddle of balloons, and it was kind of intimidating, but I was like, wow, it must be someone's birthday,
Yep.
That's amazing though. I can only imagine like the excitement you must have felt in that moment.
I was very excited, and it was just a beautiful fall day too. I remember it was very sunny out. I was very surprised. I was warm.
It's nice to remember those moments. I actually feel like that experience kind of like reflects with the cover too. Like, I don't know, like these sunspots always intrigued me. At least at first I thought I had smudged something on it, and I was like, oh my God, I just got this book. How could I have dirtied it already? But it was a rainbow on there, which is really, really pretty. I like that. Moving into your science field, I feel like it's really important to touch on because of all these like different like balances in hobbies and stuff, you studied cell and molecular biology, right?
Yes. Yep.
And that was at the College of St. Rose before continuing a Doctor of Pharmacy program at the University of Buffalo.
Yes.
What initially drew you to those programs?
So I would say the first part, the STEM portion, the biology. So I, like Claire in the story, I wasn't sure 100% what I wanted to do. And so I decided to, pursue a bachelor's degree in science, make sure that's what I wanted to do. And so in those years during undergrad, I made sure to do shadowing with pharmacists, working in a pharmacy, making sure okay, that's what I wanted to do. And so with pharmacy, I actually did recently do a career change where I decided to not continue on with the pharmacy program in Buffalo. I decided that I really liked doing stuff in the lab. I decided that for everyone, maybe just pursuing a degree, you decide you want to just kind of step back. And just the pressure of school and being in school for so long that maybe you want to just have a change in heart of doing something else. So for me, I decided to use my biology degree that I received and I started working in a lab. And so while I was in the lab and taking a break from pharmacy school, I really realized how much I loved working in the lab. And that's why I decided not to go back and finish my pharmacy degree.
I feel like that's really important, especially for students who are in that period of their life where they could be in their junior or senior year or sophomore year or wherever. And personally, I've been in this experience where I've been pretty late in my college career and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like doing this exactly. I want to change my degree, but possibly it's too late, I feel like a lot of people fall victim to not changing their degree and working in a field that they don't enjoy doing, or because they think it's too late,
right. Yeah, I feel I guess advice for anyone that's kind of reconsidering, it is really difficult to kind of figure out what you want to do. For the longest time, I had the set mind, I want to be a pharmacist. I want to be do pharmacy. And I went through the stages of I did get my bachelor's and I went through the first year and a half of pharmacy school. And sometimes you just realize you'll sit in class and you like what you're doing, you enjoy it, but you sometimes feel that you think it's maybe just not for you. And that's why I took that break. I took that break before I fully got into the program to realize that I really do like the lab and I'm happy in the lab.
I think one thing that can be hard in terms of changing the path that you're in is identifying yourself as a certain thing for the majority of your life. Before college, wanting to go to college for this, being in college as this student, and then realizing maybe I'm not this, maybe I don't want to be this, that transitional period can be especially tough, especially if it's in college where you're deciding to spend this money to get this degree.
Right.
And that really impacts people not wanting to change. I could spend 15 hours editing a video and creating film and stuff like that, and it would not feel like 15 hours and I could do it forever. Whereas sitting down to do a graphic design assignment for a half an hour felt the most laborious ever. I could not get through it. And I'd constantly check the clock. And that was one of the deciding factors that made me realize, maybe I really should change this degree, because if I don't, this is how I'm going to be feeling for the rest of my life, Did you kind of have a similar experience with pharmacy, or was it kind of just, I like this more,
It was more I had personal things going on outside of academics, and it kind of turned my decision where I needed that break to kind of figure out what to do. And because of that outside circumstance, I decided to kind of steer away from pharmacy to work in a lab. And I told myself, well, I wanted to be a pharmacist, but I can also see myself doing something else as well. Being a pharmacist wasn't necessarily I have to do this. I kind of not say settle, but in a way I found myself I found it kind of similar to what you said, where I'm in a lab and it feels like I've only been there for not that long. And here I am, I'm kind of just done with my day and I can do that every day. versus I guess in a pharmacy, because I have worked as a pharmacy technician, kind of seeing like what pharmacists do, or like, you know, being the pharmacy student in that aspect. It was kind of like I was always just under that pressure all the time.
Do you think working in these lab environments influenced the way that you approach storytelling or just writing in general?
Actually, I don't think it really has much of a tie with the story at all. Like, no influence, actually, surprisingly.
I feel like it's either hit or miss with that. Like, sometimes it is, sometimes you don't. I guess, what year did you say that you were when you were editing the book, like the first one, in your college experience, I guess?
So it was about 2018. So this was like after like they first initially asked me, like gave me the suggestion. So about 2018. And then it was like early 2021 when we like really like redid the editing of it.
I'd be interested to see how your writing style has changed in the next publishing, because like I said before, I feel like even if you don't feel like your writing style has changed, there's like kind of like an unconscious thing that like underlays in it, you know? So I'm excited to see that.
I'm actually currently rewriting the second book because, like, you know how with fan fiction, you have that version on a Wattpad and like you're changing it to like match the first published book. So it is a lot different. And I notice, because I'm currently working on the sequel right now, my writing style has changed again since I rewrote the first book. And I also, one thing I've noticed is the time frame. So this book was originally written in 2014 versus now it's like rewriting it was 2025, 2026. Like things like Lyft or cabs, TikTok wasn't a thing back then. So I kind of have to remember that in the story, these things don't exist yet. Or like in the first, when I rewrote the first book, like there's certain parts of like, say, Disney's a part of the book a little bit. And they've definitely done renovations, like things don't exist anymore, or they're called different things. There's just so much like thinking aspect of like how much has changed in the time period as well.
Right. Continuity is a big, hard thing in writing for sure, especially when like editing the second book and making it fit, since you already did so much for the first book. Do you think that your background in science changes the stories that not only you like reading, but you also like telling, and how you approach storytelling and problem solving in your writing?
I would say for Claire's character, it doesn't change too much of her story, because I did decide that like I'm going to try to keep it close to like what the original story was. Even though now in 2026, I would love to just like rewrite it, rechange it. But I feel like for the sake of like the originality, I can never say that word, but the original like story, I want to keep that like as like a memory of like, this is what it was like. This is how it was at the beginning when I first wrote this.
When I was reading it again, I felt so nostalgic. I felt like kind of transported back to like 2014 when I originally read it. And that was super nice. So I feel like this book can serve as that for people who have read it. But yeah, I'm curious to see, do you have any other like writing ideas that you kind of want to write in the future?
So I am interested in possibly pursuing fantasy. I know it's a very big project. Like I've been like having that itch of wanting to do it, but I know I want to complete this first, because I feel like the planning, the thinking, possible research, like everything, I would have to really put my like thoughts and effort towards that. But unfortunately, I can't do that yet. How
did you stay in character with Claire's character? One, as you were writing, and also as you were going through the editing process all these years later?
So like you said, I actually had to go back to the story and kind of reread like either certain sections of the story, or like find like particular spots where I'm like, okay, this is Claire. We don't want to like change her in any way. And I also, before I switched over everything to like an app that I use for character development, I used to like have a notebook. And I still have that notebook where I like kind of handwritten everything about like the characters and like what they're like and like what their goal is. And so I kind of have to like use my references of like the journal and the story to kind of like make sure Claire is Claire.
That's one thing I recommend if you ever start fantasy is making a map. Because like you have to construct your own world. It's hard. Like I would definitely recommend using a huge piece of paper because I started on a notebook paper.
It did not work.
Like it's not working. I need a way bigger one. And now if I want to make a bigger map, I have to completely like redraw everything, which would be beneficial because I have a lot of crossed out stuff and like writing. So I got to get to that eventually, but like it's a lot. I have Google Docs, I have Sheets, I have stuff in my notes app, I have a notepad. Like it's insane writing fantasy and I'm only on like chapter 4. Also, I feel like with fantasy, it's like you have to kind of have everything laid out from the beginning. Definitely. So it's a lot of world building. But yeah, I recommend you get into that because like I feel like once you start writing fantasy, there's kind of no going back, you know, like world building is just so addicting to me. But at the same time, it's like so hard, you know, because you're putting all this work into something. And then, of course, you have to consider like people will critique it and be like, well, this isn't realistic. Oh, this like, you know, like which is beneficial to your writing, but also hard to fill plot holes that have existed for such a long time, you know, but that's a different story. During college, do you think that there were more moments that pulled you more strongly towards writing, or do you always see it as something that would kind of coexist along your scientific career?
I always thought it actually coexists with my career. So I knew that I liked the creative aspect of writing, but I also was also thinking about something towards like science where there's writing involved, or like there's some type of like translating scientific writing for like people to understand if like, you know, they don't understand. So I feel like having that ability to be able to write but also read and translate, because I love science as well, it really helps doing both.
For students who feel torn between a practical career path and a creative passion, what has helped you keep both parts of your life going?
I would say, so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Like, yes, I had like the pharmacy aspect, the STEM aspect was like it was a bit like I was more like leaning towards that as a career. Because for me, if I pursued like, say, like writing as a career, I thought it would be like a forced job. I feel like I would have more writer's block, or I wouldn't find it fun anymore. And I always wanted that aspect of my life to continue to be something I enjoyed.
Right. I think that's a difficult thing of like making your passion and your hobby your job, because then it does feel like a job because you have to do it, you know. That's another reason why I almost didn't go to school for art or film, because I liked making it on the side and I didn't want to grow into a love-hate relationship with it, you know?
Right.
So I really respect that you're able to keep that on the side while also having another degree, which I think is a really important aspect to follow, and especially becomes relatable to your readers in Alone, because like you, Claire kind of feels torn between different segments of her career. I feel like it's very relatable to a lot of your readers, and I think it's very important to touch on that, because in coming of age media, like movies and books, it is something that a lot of people experience.
Yeah.
Being a science student can also come with a pretty demanding schedule, am I right?
Yes, a very demanding schedule, depending on the semester, like a college, like the courses you take, the course load, or in general, like in the lab right now. So I'm about a year and a half into this lab. And I'm still learning. There's just so much to learn, but it's like with an 8-hour day instead of like the entire day because you're in school. But there's just so much to learn.
Did you find that you were still able to write while you were going to school, or did it become more of like a off-season thing like during the summer?
So it definitely became more of an off-season because of like, I did go through kind of like a change. Like I was a biochem major at first, and then halfway through, like during around when COVID happened, I like just decided to do just biology and do a concentration. So it made it like a little bit easier, like with like pursuing my degree. but I just remember how demanding it was. And like with still being a student athlete, it just made it too difficult to consistently write. So it'd be like an on and off writing, or it'd be only a summer writing. And there were at times where I wasn't writing for months.
I think that's pretty normal for a writer. I mean, like, say Libby, you know, like life is always going to change, and so is your schedule. Like, it would be nice to have a routine that like just stayed, but like, how realistic is that, you know? Like, especially going from college to working a full-time job, which you're in now, I believe.
Yeah. So
how has that changed for you?
So actually, so switching from like leaving my program to working, it was definitely a huge adjustment. So actually, even in the job itself, I changed shifts. So I used to work a 2 to 10:30 p.m. shift. So like the normal shift I've always been used to. And then this past summer, I started working first shift, 6 a.m. to 2:30. So I feel like just like alone, like in the past like year and a half, it's been more of like an adjustment and trying to figure out, okay, I want to get back into writing again. And it definitely took, I would say, quite a few months to figure out when and where I could write, because I'm also adjusting to like my sleep schedule definitely changed, and just adulting in general, like, you know, doctor's appointments. I'm still living here in Buffalo. So like now I'm kind of like figuring out all the stuff of adulting, because I've like my entire life have lived with my family. So everything is new. Like learning recently, a year ago, I did get a car, and just kind of the aspect of living was kind of like my prime like focus the past like year and a half. And then until recently, I would say that last 2 or 3 months, I was able to finally set at least a solid like 2 days a week where I am definitely writing for at least 4 to 7 hours a day, like on my off days from work. And then the days I do work, I would write like snippets, like maybe a few paragraphs here and there if I'm not too tired. So I definitely have incorporated writing more back into my life.
Since you first started writing, how do you think your ideal writing time has changed? Like, were you a night owl writer like I was, or did you find more motivation to write in the morning? And how has that changed since you first started and compared to now?
Definitely in high school, I was the night owl. I was that person where for some reason that 2:30 to 3 a.m., that writing really did hit. And then once you started hearing the birds chirping, you're like, that's not good.
I remember like I would sit down and write like my fan fiction until like I would hit like a really good gold mine idea at like 12:59, and that was like like one more paragraph, like I'm gonna write this, and then I'm like, oh my god, I can expand on this. And then like 3 hours later, you'd hear the birds chirping, and like the little like faint blue turn, like the gray turning the blue from the night, and I'm like, oh. And then you'd hear your parents getting up for work, and I'm like, oh, I'm really cooked, because now I got to go to school. And there were times where I would write all night, and then I would go to school, and then I would not have slept for the next and I would either come home and go to sleep, or I would do it all again and then like fall asleep really late. So I'd be like, the sleep debt in high school was crazy, but also like the creative block could not touch me, you know? Like
it could not
I'm so envious of like my teenage years, because writer's block was not a thing. You know? I don't know if you have that same experience, but like
I would say undergrad, because like I only had limited time to write. If like I just stared at the page, I had bad writer's block, because I feel like the pressure of like school just kind of really hindered me from writing. But I would say now as a writer, I definitely changed to daytime. Like I'm a morning on my off day, because like I work from 6 a.m. to 2:30. So I now get up always at like 5 a.m. every day. So I definitely, my body has shifted to being up in the morning. And that's like the only time I feel like I can write now.
I feel like kind of inspired in the morning when it's like the sun is just starting to rise and I have my coffee and I can sit down and like crank out so many assignments. But then there were times at like 8:30 where I'm like, ooh, I have this really good idea. I need to sit down and write. But at the same time, like, I don't know how I would do it as a kid, where I could like just be on my laptop and just write for hours. I have a whole PC set now. So like, it's not even just like a tiny screen, but I can't sit in front of my computer for too long at night without like getting tired and drowsy. And it's like really envious of myself for that period. But yeah, I definitely recognize how my writing patterns have changed day-wise. I know some people still become night owls, but I definitely prefer mornings. I don't like waking up early.
I still don't really care.
Yeah, once I'm up though, it's pretty beneficial.
Yeah.
Without spoiling the book, Samantha, what are some similarities and differences that your career path as the author shares with Claire's character in the resolution of the first book?
Ooh.
Without spoiling anything. Hard question.
This is a really hard question. Well, I feel like with the first book, I haven't like full on talked about like exactly what she wants to do. Like, I know as her character, like she knows she wants the cello to be a part of her life. She wants to do music and she'll try to find a way to incorporate music, or whether it's going to be like her career or it's going to be like a hobby, or maybe she's going to minor in something music. So I know she'll definitely do something in music. But then the science aspect, I don't think I mentioned as much in the first book as I did the second book, but I know she's definitely looking into it.
If you could pick a project that had no limits, what would your dream writing project be?
I think I mentioned this earlier. It'll definitely go straight for the fantasy. I would probably be in like Ireland or something, like on like one of those like cliffs by the water, like, or maybe Scotland. It would definitely have to be fantasy.
Is there a specific, like, have you read any fantasy?
I have definitely read fantasy years ago, and also the Dread Descendant is also fantasy, so like I kind of gotten back into it. So I would say definitely that world creation and imagination, definitely.
Into our closing conclusion, what advice would you give young writers who are sharing their work online, possibly on platforms like Wattpad, and are hoping to be published someday?
I would say definitely go for it. I don't know if you have any friends or family members that likes to read. Yeah. Maybe give them like a short snippet of like your story that you're interested in posting, and just do it. Like Nike says, just do it. You never know.
I've quoted that in this season. That is, yeah, exactly. I think the Nike slogan can be used for a lot of things. You just gotta kind of go for it, regardless of the risk,
Like, little did I know that by hitting that publish button, yes, I was like terrified and scared, but like the outcome of like years to come, the friends I've made, like everything, it's totally worth it.
Where can our listeners follow your work and keep up with what you're doing next?
So I recently made an account where like I have separate accounts for like my personal and like posting content. So my new account is simply .shafay, and that account is going to be more of like travel and definitely more of like my publishing. So like that'll be like more like an engagement account where you'll find out like more news about any projects or any updates on anything.
If Alone and this series ever became a movie or a TV show, who would you cast as Claire and why?
So I feel like that's a hard like to choose like what actress. So I went with Bethany Lenz. So she played a character in One Tree Hill, and I remember shortly after writing like the first version of the series, like just her character alone in One Tree Hill just immediately just like brought me to like Claire's attention. Like I would say she's probably the closest like kind of character. She played Haley in One Tree Hill, and I would just say she'd be a perfect candidate.
I'm looking at her now, and that's kind of what I pictured as her as well. I think you did a really good job of kind of making her that kind of like your appearance of the character. So well done on that. I know appearance, I've even seen it in like published books where like authors will go from like one appearance to the next and kind of like transform it through the series. So it's really good that you kept that consistent while publishing. If you were to make a movie or film featuring you and your story, who would you cast as yourself?
Honestly, I would. That's
I know it's hard. I've thought a lot about this for myself because I'm actually like writing like something for myself, but like it's hard like narrowing it down.
Like, so like would this person have to be like someone you know, or like an actress?
It could be literally anyone, like an actress, or it can be a singer. It could be anyone.
Man, that's
tricky one.
Because like,
who was the first person that came to your head?
I actually don't have anyone in my head. Like, it's actually blank because like I think about like, okay, someone who's athletic, who likes writing, but also like science. But like,
if you think about it though, you could. They don't necessarily have to have those traits because they're acting.
That's very true. But like trying to like have that person kind of like, man, I would say like maybe Lily Collins.
Yes,
maybe
she's
her.
Classic face claim for like ambitions.
I think it'd be her.
Amazing. It's refreshing to meet someone who had a similar upbringing with writing as me. So I'm really happy that I had you on this podcast. Rory's Room is written and produced by myself, Rori Nicole, and you can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. Theme songs and background music were produced by TJ Borkenhagen. You can follow Rory's Room on Instagram at Rory's Room, and follow me at itsrory_x for updates on the show and a few more glimpses in the life behind the mic. If you enjoyed today's episode, drop a review wherever you listened in. The goal of this show is to share my story and the stories of others in a way that makes people feel a little less alone. The next episode will be on August 2nd, 2026, where we will be sitting down with dental assistant Brianna Moen. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all next time in Rory's Room.